takeaways from the first Fulton County hearing on the Trump election subversion case. CNN. The shape of the sparring Fulton County, Georgia, the trial against the former President Donald Trump and 18 co-defendants began to emerge Wednesday at the first televised hearing in the case since the indictment was filed last month. The Fulton County District Attorney's Office said it is planning a 4-month-long trial with more than 150 witnesses, while defense attorneys for two of the defendants, pro-Trump lawyers Kenneth Chesebro and Sidney Powell, argued their cases should be severed from the other defendant. The state judge presiding over Trump's election subversion case, Scott McAfee, denied a motion for Chesebro and Powell, who have both filed to hold a speedy trial to sever their cases from each other, but he was skeptical of the district attorney's desire to hold a trial for all 19 defendants beginning next month. McAfee said he hoped to decide the key questions on the trial schedule and the breaking of the 19 defendant case by early next week. Here are takeaways from Wednesday's hearing. Judgment is skeptical of the quick and joint trial. McAfee expressed the skepticism of our Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis' desire to hold a joint trial for all 19 defendants in October. The judge has already set the trial date for Chesebro on October 23 after he made the speedy trial request under Georgia law, and Willis responded with a motion that all 19 defendants should be tried at the same time. McAfee didn't deny that motion, but he was dubious during Wednesday's hearing. It just seems a bit unrealistic that we can handle all 19 defendants in 40-something days, McAfee said. Prosecutor Nathan Wade threw out some big numbers Wednesday's hearing. The Fulton County District Attorney's Office expects each case against the 19 defendants would take about 4 months, and the prosecutors expect to call more than 150 witnesses. What's more, prosecutors said that the case would be the same whether it is against one defendant or all 19, as they argued against severing defendants into separate trials. McAfee, however, thought the timeline was very optimistic, saying it could easily be twice that, given the multiple defendants in the case. Judge denies the bid to sever Powell from Chesebro. While McAfee suggested it would separate Powell and Chesebro from the other 17 defendants, he ruled from the bench Wednesday denying their motions to sever their cases from one another. McAfee ruled that Powell and Chesebro will go to trial together on October 23. Based on what's been presented today, I'm not finding the severance for Mr. Chesebro or Powell is necessary to achieve a fair determination of the guilty or innocence for either defendant in this case, McAfee said. He also said that 2 lengthy trials would clog up the court calendar and inconvenience jurors. Still, Michael Moore, the CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor, said it was a good day for the defendants because they appeared poised to sever their cases from the other 17 defendants. He or but severed their case from the other defendant, Moore said. He essentially said they file your brief by Tuesday, and I'm going to have scheduling orders going out by the end of the week. defendants are pointing the finger at one another. The attorneys for Chesebro and Powell each took the same strategy during Wednesday's hearing, distancing their client from the other co-defendant. Manny Aurora, who represented Chesebro, argued that his client was not involved in most of the conspiracy alleged for Fulton County prosecutors, flaming Chesebro as the more rational actor than other co-defendants, specifically Powell. In 2020, Chesebro worked on the Trump campaign's effort to undermine the election result. Essentially, from what I understand from the public record, she was fired before this conspiracy actually even started up because she said something that was supposedly crazy and Trump people got rid of her. Aurora said of Powell. Aurora noted that Chesebro had never met Powell and had never been to Coffee County, Georgia, where the breach of voting system is part of the allegations in the indictment against Powell. When Powell's attorney Brian Rafferty spoke, he made the same point, saying Powell didn't know Chesebro and had no involvement in the fake elector allegations against Chesebro. Rafferty argued that Powell was not the driving force behind the breach of voting machines in Coffee County, despite the evidence put forward by prosecutors in support of allegations she helped coordinate and fund the effort. But he claimed that his argument would be washed away in days and weeks of the testimony about the Constitution and the fake electoral scheme. The prosecutor Will Wooten argued that because the district attorney's office charges the racketeering case under Georgia's RICO, racketeer influenced and corrupt organizations law, all of the evidence against each of the defendants is connected. All of the evidence is admissible against all of the defendants, Wooten said. Anytime a person enters into the conspiracy, they are reliable for all of the acts of all of their conspirators, he added. Evidence against one is evidence against all, which said that the case would be the same regardless of how many defendants are being tried at the same time. The state's position is that whether we have one trial or 19 trials, the evidence is exactly the same. The number of witnesses is the same, he said. The Trump's attorneys are not present at Wednesday's hearing, but his role in the case could not be ignored. Trump is at the center of the Fulton County prosecutors' alleged conspiracy, even as they charged 18 other co-defendants for taking part in effort to overturn the 2020 election result. Special counsel Jack Smith took a different approach in his federal elections subversion case, charging Trump alone and including 6 unindicted co-conspirators, several of whom are now Trump's co-defendants in Fulton County. Scott Glomman, attorney for Chesebro, suggested Trump's presence in the Fulton County case could cloud how a jury views the other defendant. The state wants a case against Donald Trump and all these people together. The state wants to make this case about Donald Trump, Grubman said. Grubman went on to argue that Chesebro is not a politician and was previously unknown to the public. Now to force him to sit here in a trial where there is evidence of all these other things is just not fair, he said. Meadows bid to federal court looms. McAfee acknowledged the prospect that all 19 defendants will not remain in his courtroom, another complicating factor to scheduling a trial or trials for the sparring racketeering case. The federal judge is soon expected to rule on former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows' motion to move his case to federal court, a bid that could have implications for the rest of the defendants. McAfee said that the effort to move cases to federal court could complicate the district attorney's desire to try all of the defendants quickly, in addition to the expected flurry of pretrial motions. To charge ahead might be risky, McAfee said. Where does the leave where does that leave us in where does that leave us in the middle of the jury trial? He asked after raising the prospect that judge rules in favor of moving a case to federal court. Not long after Wednesday's hearing ended, Meadows filed a motion asking a state judge in Georgia to halt all proceedings against him until there is a final decision, including appeals on his bid to move his case to federal court. In addition, three more defendants, Robert Chisley, Jeffrey Clark, and Sean Steele, asked the judge Wednesday to serve their cases from Chisbro and Powell. McAfee asked the lawyers to return next week to walk through more pre-trial issues and said he expected they would keep having these weekly sessions together to walk through pre-trial issues, given the complicated task of sorting out how the 19 core defendants will be tried. This story has been updated with additional details. CNN's Marshall Cohen, Holmes Reverend Hannah Rabinovsk, Zachary Cohen, Chris Yu, and Maxim Hamset contribute to this reporting.